Okay, people are joining now.
Okay. I just want to welcome people that we'll get started in a couple of minutes. People are just logging in right now. Welcome. For those just joining, we'll give another minute for people to log in. We'll get started shortly. Welcome to those just joining. We're just gonna give one more minute. Okay, I think we can get started. I want to welcome everyone. I am Tammy Phelps, Right Path Advisor here at Select Path. Today we're running our monthly Exemplify session, Everyday Action for Behavior Change. Hvizd is joining us today to discuss the importance of identifying your values to drive your behavior change, along with the everyday behavior change strategies that are easily actionable for you to find success. We will be recording the session for future reference. We would encourage you to add your questions throughout the session, and we'll into the chat or the Q&A, and we'll strive to address them all, time permitting. Andy brings 20 years of experience within the health and wellness space. With a specialization in corporate wellness and having experiences with on-site management services, programming, and digital health, he has a unique perspective on employer and employee needs. He enjoys leveraging data to drive health outcomes through innovative and targeting programming focused on population health down to the individual. I am very pleased to turn the session over to Andy.
Thank you, Tammy. And thank you for Select Path for inviting me and being able to share today's presentation with all of you. I really do appreciate it. So, quick overview of myself. So I'm excited to bring this presentation to you today. My name is Andy Hvizd. I'm the head of growth for Welltech Digital Health. Welltech Digital Health is a corporate wellness company focused on coaching the world to better health with our behavior change platform. We've been in the market for 10 years, working directly with employers and working directly with insurers. And we're working ultimately with end users like yourself with regards to being able to, meet you where you're at with regards to your journey. My background, as Tammy mentioned, is in corporate wellness, both from a US perspective and a Canadian perspective, both from an on-site management perspective. So, working with populations, whether it's, in an industrial environment or a traditional corporate environment, and then we're really focusing on chronic conditions. And then also obviously into digital wellness as well. And over the last 2 years, that's certainly picked up due to the pandemic. For myself, I'm a big advocate, especially in today's environment, is believing in organizations adopting a hybrid approach to employee wellness and really meeting the employee where they're at, both from a location perspective. So whether it's, working from home, on site, but also related to the readiness to change, to improve the individual as well as organizational health outcomes. Today, we're going to talk about behavior change and everyday action to improve health outcomes. Excited to share some tips and perspective related to positive health behavior change. The insights may be information you already know, and I hope that reinforces your efforts regarding healthy behavior, or it provides a new take for you to consider. Let's get going. Very important with regards to, before we get into the actionable items, is really talking about setting the foundation and setting yourself up for success. One of the big things about is with regards to being able to identify a goal and having a goal to work towards, or it could be multiple goals to work towards. Smart goal setting. I'm sure this is a common strategy that I'm sure you've heard of or came across before. It's always good to consider what your short-term and long-term goals may be related to positive behavior change, and apply the SMART goal setting to these. I liken SMART goals to that of a compass. You don't need to reference it all the time, but it's great to have in place for when you first start and along your journey, so you can reference it when necessary, if you're feeling lost or if you're feeling overwhelmed with whatever situation you may be in. Perhaps you had a great initial start, then began to plateau, 8 to 10 weeks into your behavior change. You want to be able to revisit those goals, and revisiting your SMART goals at certain reflection points can help you get back on track. Perhaps the goal needs to be revisited or adjusted, and it's a good reminder of what that goal is and why you're working towards that goal. Personally, I use SMART when I was doing triathlons. I used SMART goal setting a lot when I was training for triathlons. I would have a season goal, of course, but then I would have a number of smaller goals leading up to that larger goal. This helped me stay focused, engaged, and committed to my training. If I had only one goal that was 6 to 8 months away, chances are I might get disengaged, I might lose motivation. But with smaller goals along the way, it kept me motivated, also kept me accountable. When talking about setting the foundation, it's really also very important to talk about being able to identify potential barriers and how you're going to overcome those barriers. This is a major factor in having success and staying on course. There's no doubt that you will face barriers along your journey. Identifying these in advance and having a plan for when they do arise is very important. These barriers can be internal or external. The internal barriers are those that are psychological. They can be a case of where you become your own worst enemy. You may hit a point in your behavior change journey where you question whether or not you can reach your goal. Don't let this be a barrier. Identify the successes that you had up to that point and build upon those. Maybe it's also time to reflect on your goal and modify where necessary. I always tell people, remember, goals aren't necessarily a static thing. They can be revisited. They can be adjusted to meet you where you're at and to be able to help you progress along the way. Barriers can also, of course, be external. Maybe you had a goal of getting to the gym 3 or 4 times a week for a 45-minute, 30-minute workout, whatever it may have been. On the day that you're supposed to go to the gym, you got to work late, and then you got to take your kids to hockey practice. Rather than just saying, I'll just make it up later in the week, knowing that that might not happen. Being able to pivot and say, okay, when I bring my kid to hockey practice, I'm going to bring my sneakers and I'm going to do the stairs at the arena, or I'm going to walk around the arena. So being able to pivot and modify and be able to identify those potential barriers in advance is going to help you with those transitions should you come across those barriers. And the last one is self-monitoring and keeping a record. This is something I did with my triathlon training, and for myself, I'm no longer doing triathlon training, and just really for me, being active, keeping healthy is all about lifestyle and from a family perspective. When I started at WellTech, one interesting self-monitoring tactic that I have taken up is journaling. Prior to WellTech, I don't think I would have given it consideration. But when I was going through the platform, or our platform, my health pillar of focus was mental health. And one of the coaching nudges, and I'll talk about the coaching later on, but one of the coaching nudges that I received was to do daily journaling. This is something that I do on a consistent basis and can range from thoughts related to work, marriage, parenting, and everything in between. It really becomes an opportunity to reflect and also communicate better in my day-to-day. Now we're going to talk about values and values associated with goals, but also the importance that values play with regards to being able to drive you forward. A big part of behavior change is understanding the underlying values associated with your goals and the why of your behavior change or your desire for behavior change. I worked as a personal trainer for many years, and whenever I started working with clients, either one-on-one or in a small group setting, we'd always talk about the why, what was driving their energy, their commitment, and the desire for positive behavior change. This goes beyond identifying a goal and is a deeper understanding of why you want to accomplish this goal. And what do it mean to you from both an emotional perspective, but also from a physical perspective? Having a deeper understanding of the why and the associated feelings with it is a powerful element for someone when they begin their behavior change journey. I'll give you an example here. When I was a manager of campus recreation at York University. This was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. We did a great program in partnership with Diabetes Canada and the Jane and Finch Community Health Center. The program targeted those in the community with type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes. The clinical team at the community center would refer patients to our program, and then students would work with individuals. I remember one participant in our program. She sticks out to me because of the progress that she made, but also her why. I remember when she first started the program, she had to take the elevator to the second floor to get to the gym because the stairs weren't possible because she was so deconditioned. When she was there during her sessions, she would come to her sessions, but when she was there, she would struggle moving through the circuit. And she also, you can tell she just didn't have the confidence in herself. Sometimes she would come late. Towards the end of the program, I saw her climbing the stairs. She had new workout clothes and she was early to her sessions. I stopped her and said, "Oh my God, you're doing fantastic." I talked about the progress that she's having. And I asked her, what was her motivation? What was her why for this behavior change? And her why, or her reason why she wanted to reach her goal and make the changes was she wanted to dance pain-free, she wanted to have energy to cook, and she wanted to rekindle her marriage. Her goal was to lose 20 pounds and gain good control over A1C, which is like A1C is associated with blood glucose. I can't remember if she accomplished those goals, but what I am sure of is that we had a positive impact on her life, and her why was ultimately more important than the goal. You don't have to answer this out loud, but I'll encourage you to ask yourself, what is your motivation like with regards to living a healthy and active lifestyle? Like I said before, for myself, before kids, I was very focused on triathlons and more competing. Now it's all about, feeling good, having energy, managing stress, having more resiliency, setting an example for my kids, and being able to identify something specific, and whether it's getting ready for your son or daughter's wedding, maybe next year, or maybe it's improving your energy level and confidence to be the best version of yourself for your family. Again, understanding the why is a very powerful tool for you on your journey when you're looking at behavior change. I'm just going to brief. There's a lot in terms of behavior change. There's lots of different strategies to deploy. I'm going to quickly talk about nudge theory and nudge theory, how it relates to both WellTech, but also just from a general perspective as well. Over the last 2 years, health apps have gained in popularity because of the pandemic. It's accelerated its adoption and acceptance of digital-based approaches to healthcare. There are currently, I believe, 316,000 health apps available in app stores globally, with another 200 that get added every day. A lot of these health apps use a variety of nudge theory with regards to being able to help encourage behavior change and support behavior change. Nudge theory is a new behavior economic concept which influences the behavior and decision-making of individuals through choice architecture. By definition, a nudge, it's not mandatory and it doesn't forbid any options. It's really providing someone with a sense of structure and guiding. At WellTech, we take a personalized approach to nudge theory and tailor the nudges based upon an individual's health risk assessment, personal goals, data that's coming in from wearable devices, as well as time of day. This customized approach to coaching has given us the ability to coach people to better health, all in the palm of their hand. Although nudge theory is relatively new to digital health space, early examples of this include examples like picture warnings on cigarette boxes. Although maybe not effective immediately, the consistent messaging at point of sale, every time someone would go to smoke, was meant to slowly change behavior over time for people that are already smoking. Certainly, though, to quit smoking, a lot of people need more than just picture warnings and nudges. However, for behavior related to sleep, mental health, nutrition, physical activity, nudge theory can be an effective tool to help support positive behavior health changes for individuals. I'm going to talk about the 4 pillars of well-being now. It's a bit cliche, but good health is really, it's a balancing act. It's my job today to combine all my experiences and be able to help you to be at your best without depriving yourself of the things that you enjoy. And again, like I say, everything's all in moderation. For us, we look through it, from a well-being perspective. We really work towards 4 pillars. They include mental health, what we call mind, physical activity, sleep, and nutrition. Each pillar depends on the others. Nothing happens in isolation. And the best thing about this is you can improve the strength of these pillars every single day. And I talk about making incremental changes. You don't have to make changes overnight. The trick is to focus on one, because if you can't do everything at once, you can't say, okay, I'm going to try to do all 4 pillars. However, when you're able to focus on one pillar, there's a bit of a domino effect that happens as other parts of the health start to improve as well. They're all connected. Mental health isn't just not mental health. It's related to sleep. It's related to physical activity. It's related to nutrition, and vice versa. They're all interconnected. I have another story I want to tell you from my personal training days, and it's about the domino effect in more ways than one. As I mentioned earlier, before I got into employee well-being, I was a personal trainer, and the friend had introduced me to one of her friends. She was about 40 years old, about below average height, overweight. She had a lot of pain in her back and legs caused by her weight, chronic pain. She was used to she used a walking stick, and she was slowly potentially transitioning to a walking frame as well. She had depression, poor sleep habits, which meant she struggled to get up in the morning. And when she would never properly cook meals. She was always either eating out, and most of the time it'd be pizza, Domino's pizza. And for her, it was time to make a change. However, having her focus on nutrition first, that would get derailed potentially pretty quickly. There was no way she was going to give up pizza as her first challenge. So we started easy, and with my background, my preference, and most people are very open to it, is starting with physical activity. It can be low intensity, low impact, and it influences the other areas as well. So we started walking once a week for 30 minutes and doing some body weight exercises. Then we added a second session. She started going to bed a bit early on those nights. Then that rolled into a healthier day the next day. Ideally, hopefully, less chance for pizza as well. Sometimes she even started walking to the grocery store to get groceries for the day, and whatever she was looking to make. When she was walking regularly, for her, it was all about being proactive. She was more proactive on those days. She did a bit more work for a friend who was self-employed. And then within 9 months, she literally changed every part of her life. And was first by just focusing on that physical activity, and that cascaded and had the domino effect into other areas. That single habit rolled into more of the other habits, and being able to build upon it, that happened over time. In my 9-month period, she made great strides. And really, the purpose of the story is choose one thing that matters to you, and trust that improving that one area of your world will improve the other areas over time. And for her, that was the case. Starting with physical activity was kind of her gateway to be able to make changes in those other areas as well, but they weren't necessarily her primary focus. I'm going to start with talking about physical activity. We've heard it before. It's pretty easy. Move often, mix it up, get out of your comfort zone. Activity breeds activity. In my experience, activity can be the easiest habit to start with because it gives you the immediate boost. If we go for a walk midday, we feel great afterwards. If you do a high intensity workout, you have those endorphins. It can be fun. Some people don't agree that physical activity can be fun or exercise can be fun. And I just encourage you to continue to find something from a physical activity perspective that you do find fun, that you do enjoy, because from a long-term perspective, it's going to make it easier. Once you do, you notice that it takes less willpower to make smart food choices. and you'll be able to also drink more water. Well, again, all of these things are tied in together. Exercise is a great way to boost your sleep. Just make sure you don't do it, right before bed with high intensity exercise. And exercise is a known mood booster as well from a mental health perspective. There are several studies that show that can be just as effective as medication with regards to mild to moderate depression. From a physical activity perspective, what do you need to do? So like I said before, move often. Typically, we're aiming for anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 steps on a daily basis. That could be 150 and ultimately 150 minutes per week of physical activity. And that starts with a combination of activity opportunities and structured exercise. So it doesn't always have to be structured exercise. It could be walking the dog, it could be walking the kids to school. It might be a 30-minute workout on the Peloton bike, or it might be a 10-minute yoga break or a 20-minute yoga break at lunch. Mixing it up as well, having a balance of strength, cardio, and mobility. The aim is for 150 minutes per week. Ultimately, if you can do 2 strength training exercises, fantastic. And as you get older, strength training becomes more important because of the muscle mass that you lose as you age. So, as we age, we want to make sure that we take in our lean proteins, but we're also doing strength training because of the muscle mass that we lose. And there is such thing as too much. If you keep on training, if you get tired and your fitness seems to kind of plateau or gets worse, take a break. The best things happen to us when we're resting. Lastly, I always encourage people to get out of the comfort zone. And it's not getting out of your comfort zone every time you exercise, but being able to, consider higher intensity exercise, not necessarily high impact or just higher intensity, is a great way to challenge yourself and perhaps give you that extra endorphin rush. If we always stay in a comfort zone, the changes will be slow. We might hit plateaus, but if we push ourselves, like doing interval training, the body will step up faster. It's more time efficient, and it's also a great energy booster as well. I'm going to ask for you to make a commitment to yourself or be able to kind of reflect upon this is, evaluate where you're at today related to your physical activity routine. Depending on where you're at, consider committing to one of the following within the next 10 days or 15 days or, by the end of this month regarding your exercise routine. If you haven't started an exercise routine yet, having that target of, 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day is fantastic. Targeting 150 minutes of activity per week. If you're already active, maybe you're walking, consider adding in the strength training to your program. And if you're already doing the strength training, consider adding in the interval training. Again, physical activity is always about being able to mix it up and be able to have that variety to keep you engaged. The next thing I'm going to talk about is sleep. This is probably something that's probably my pillar I need to focus on the most. 3 kids, so and one that's 2.5 and who always seems to be sick. So sleep is definitely an area that I need to work on, and sleep is mental health, physical activity, it is related to everything. And we always talk about sleep from a WellTech perspective. Sleep is, sometimes mental health can still, people have a hard time talking about mental health in the workplace, and sleep is a great gateway to talking about mental health. So for us, it's a big pillar that we focus on at WellTech. Activity may be the best starting point for a lot of people, and sleep is often the tipping point in the other direction. Lack of quality sleep can really derail your best intentions. When we're tired, nothing else seems to work. Healthy habits fly out the window. We crave high energy foods that are high in calories that are not necessarily good for us, and then we're also craving caffeine as well to give us a boost. But these same foods can make it harder for us to sleep well the next day, for us to be able to, if we're trying to lose weight, to be able to lose weight. And again, that domino effect is going in the other direction. Sometimes we don't have that energy to exercise, and if we did, we feel better if we slept more. So sleep is a very, very important role in health. And there's really 3 things we want to focus on: is preparing for sleep, winding down, and then giving yourself a break. So with regards to preparing for sleep, it all starts as soon as you wake up. We recommend that you try to wake up at the same time each day, even on the weekends, if possible. Get yourself into natural light as soon as you practically can. This gets your body's rhythm going. The thing to remember is that your body needs to know when to wake up and also when it needs to fall asleep. So you want to be able to greet each day with natural light and then be able to have a bit of a wind down routine in the evening. Be active during the day, but not too close to bedtime. So you don't want to do, high intensity workout, 2 hours before bed. Eat well, avoid caffeine, ideally from mid-afternoon to before you go to bed. Obviously caffeine in moderation in the morning won't necessarily impact your sleep, but having later today can impact it. And then winding down at night, this is the big one. Aim for the same, this isn't, sometimes it's hard if you have kids, but aim for the same time each night. On weekends, maybe it's an hour later. This is like getting outdoors in the morning. Your body craves consistent cues. You leave electronic devices alone an hour before bed. Obviously, from a Kindle perspective, you have a Kindle. The light that associated with the Kindle is better for the body. Avoid heavy meals. Alcohol and caffeine. Limit those intakes before bed. If you eat early, you can always have a small snack before bed. With alcohol, it may help you fall asleep. However, it impacts the quality of your sleep. So you probably won't feel your best or that well rested the next morning. Help yourself relax. This could be as simple as dimming the lights, or it might take a bath or try meditation. If you tend to have a busy brain, you can write down your worries or anything you want to get done before you go to bed. Write them before you go to bed, but also make sure that where you're writing them, make sure you're separating it from also where you sleep. And then lastly, give yourself a break. For those of you that are on the call today, I'm sure there's some of you that have trouble with sleep. For some, falling asleep is a major challenge. For others, falling asleep is fine, but waking up during the night and can't get back to sleep can be a problem. If you fall into that category where if you're able to fall asleep, but if you wake up and can't get back to bed, the worst thing you can do is toss and churn. We recommend that you get up, you go to a different room, do a quiet activity, read, puzzle, nothing too engaging, and then try going back to sleep once you're tired again. If this is a regular problem for you, from a sleep perspective, it's best to keep clocks, phones out of the bedroom as well, if possible. And one other thing I wanted to address with regard to sleep is sleep conditions like insomnia and sleep apnea. These conditions are more common than people realize. So if you're having trouble getting to sleep or staying asleep, or if you are able to go to sleep, stay asleep, but you feel exhausted when you wake up, I recommend you speak to a doctor about it. There are simple ways to screen for these conditions and then access the help if you need it. And to close out the sleep category here is, I would recommend that you commit to a wind down routine. I want you to consider, in addition to anything you may already do with regards to sleep, what new wind down habit are you going to introduce going forward? Maybe it's going to bed at the same time every night. Maybe it's 1 hour before bed, no laptop, no cell phone. Doing meditation or mindfulness before bed. This is something that, for myself, I do have a busy mind, and being able to lay there quietly with the intention of doing some meditation helps me kind of calm my nervous system and my brain. And then write down your worries and your to-dos to ease the mind as well. Being able to kind of get that, off your mind and be able to get on paper can help with anxiety. Now I'm going to get into nutrition. With nutrition, it's really about, what can you do to boost and what can you do to reduce, whether it's reducing, sugars or caffeine. These are the areas I'm talking about today. When we don't eat the nutrients we need, it's hard for us to have the energy to exercise, energy to get through the day. If we keep making poor nutrition choices, it affects our gut microbiome as well, which can impact our immunity and our mind. The mind and gut connection are very closely linked, especially for those with IBS. And if we have a high sugar or high caffeine at night, our sleep is disrupted. No one likes to deprive. No one likes to be told you can't eat that. I just say diet and people will rebel. It's like telling a child that they can't have a specific toy. So when it comes to the pillar of nutrition, the key is to think about it. What do you need to boost your diet, as well as what do you need to reduce within your diet? Not take away, but reduce. Once you have met the dietary guidelines for fruits, vegetables, drinking enough water, there really becomes limited room left for treats. And if you take it a step further, and if you're eating the right proportions related to proteins, dairy, grains, you'll be full and happy before you know it. So here are some key tips on the things you need to boost and what you should aim for. Vegetables, getting 5 servings of vegetables a day. You probably won't be able to get that all into one meal. What that looks like, it's a half a cup of raw vegetables. Frozen canned vegetables are fine too. It's pretty much impossible to fit those veggies all into one meal. So you got to think about how you want to fit them into your day. How you're going to fit into potentially your lunch as well as your dinner, or for that matter, breakfast as well. Fruits. The recommended is 2 servings a day. From a serving perspective, it kind of fits in the palm, the palm of your hand, like an apple is a great example, or a handful of fruit such as grapes. Dried fruit doesn't count. It's lost its water, and there's a higher sugar concentration as well when it's dried. Water. There are recommendations for water are a bit mixed. The general rule is to sip on water throughout the day and drink more if it's particularly hot out, or if you're exercising. Often we crave food, particularly something sweet, because we're thirsty. So rather than going to that sweet that you want, whether it's Oreos or something else, start with a glass of water if and see if you're still craving the food after that water intake. Now I'm going to talk about opportunities to reduce sugar. The WHO recommends sugar is no more than 10% of your energy intake, which takes about 2 teaspoons a day for adults. This can be a bit tricky to apply in real life, in terms of what does that look like. A guide that works well is, avoid foods with 10% sugar in them, or 10 grams per every 100 grams. This is a really helpful rule when you're choosing, breakfast foods and snacks, and obviously try to reduce sweet treats like cakes and chocolates as well. For sure, those will be higher than 10% sugar. Alcohol. This is an interesting one about alcohol. I'm not sure if people realize this, but alcohol guidelines tend to vary around the world. Currently in Canada, the guideline recommends that no more than 15 drinks per week for men, and then no more than 10 drinks for women. These guidelines were last updated in 2011, and this past August, new proposed guidelines came out that recommended no more than 2 drinks per week, regardless of males and females. These recommendations are coming out on the heels of new research, over 5,000 peer-reviewed articles that show the negative impact of alcohol consumption on health. With regards to alcohol consumption, it's being able to look at it and definitely change your helping from a health perspective. And the 15 and 10. I know some other countries, for example, like Australia, they recommend no more than 10 drinks per week, but like I said, very interesting that this past August that Canada kind of came out with proposing new guidelines specific to no more than 2 per week. So we'll see where that lands. And remember, being able to track nutrition is very important as well from like a self-monitoring perspective, self-reflection perspective. Whether it's the WellTech app, whether it's MyFitnessPal, there's a lot of resources out there to be able to track. And be able to identify the progress that you're making, or be able to identify trends that you see in your behavior. Maybe you realize that you have more sugar at mid-afternoon because you want that snack or you want that energy. So it's good to really be able to reflect back on it from a nutrition perspective. If you don't know where to start with regards to those small actions, I recommend small changes in the plate method. So with small changes, choose small and attainable goals for your diet, such as reducing the frequency of desserts, trying to curb late night eating, maybe curbing your alcohol consumption on a weekly basis. If you drink soda, limiting your soda intake, and then also trying to increase your fruits and vegetables. And the plate method, with the plate method, is being able to look at a plate and say, okay, 50%, 50% of the plate should be fruits and vegetables, 25% should be lean proteins, another 25% should be grains and starches. And we all probably have larger plates in our cupboards. I always recommend people, if weight loss is a goal, choose a smaller plate. Choosing that smaller plate is going to help you manage those serving sizes as well. I'm just going to take a quick drink here. So the last one I'm going to talk about is mind, and it's not necessarily more important than any others, but it's closely linked to all of them. So it's no coincidence that we're talking about the mind mass. You can see how it's closely linked to everything else with regard to sleep, with regard to physical activity, with regards to what you put in your body and how you feel. Think of the days when everything seems to be going against you. You lock your keys in your apartment, you forget your travel pass or your work pass, you're running late, it's all upside down. By choosing to reset your mind, you can regain an element of control. Get your day back on track. But you're also less likely to have those days if you've been paying attention to your pillars as well. Think of them all as preventive medicine for your mind, functional medicine. When your mind is calm, you're better able to make sensible decisions. You become less reactive. So you're in a better spot to coach yourself into either training, going for that walk, going for that exercise class, choosing better options at lunch, choosing better options when you go out for dinner. And there's a really close connection between sleep and mind. A lack of sleep creates stress, and stress interferes with sleep. It can become a very vicious cycle. And for sure, sleep and mental health are very closely tied together, which is sometimes why we use sleep as a bit of a gateway into mental health when we talk about it from an organizational perspective. So how do you leverage your mind up to support healthy habits? You want to be able to set yourself up. Part of this is, like we talked about before, is moving often, eating well, prioritizing your sleep. It's getting the other pillars to work for you. Being able to get those other pillars to work for you will impact your mental health. Meditation can be seen as intimidating to some people. With meditation, people always think about being able to sit quietly for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But you can 5 minutes a day makes a big difference as well. Simple breathing exercises, mindful activities like coloring can really help soothe and reset your mind. Painting as well. It's trying different activities and seeing what works for you. Connection is also key. For the past 2 years, I'm sure people work remote, and we still might be a bit of a hybrid environment. That's one of the many reasons COVID has been so tough on mental well-being. Even for the introverts amongst us, we all need social interactions to thrive and be well. So we need to find time to connect, whether it's with our family, friends, or our colleagues. Even if we're working remote, being able to connect with colleagues, call it a coffee break, whatever it may be, goes a long way. With those social collisions that would typically happen at work, they happen less, obviously, these past 2 years, and perhaps they happen less now because of the hybrid environment. So we have to be more conscious of making that effort to be able to connect with people, yes, from a work perspective, but also from a social perspective as well. Look after yourself. No one can give, from an empty cup. So you want to make sure that your cup is filled. And what are you going to do to fill that cup? Maybe you need to lie on the couch, read a book over the weekend. Maybe you need to do some kind of activity, whether it's baking, maybe it's painting, whatever it is. For you to fill your cup is very important, so you can be there for other people and also be there for yourself. Also, when to say no. There'll never be a time for self-care if you say yes to everyone. Parents probably go through this. We have 3 children, like I mentioned. Being able to say no or ask for that time for yourself is key. Being able to draw some of those lines and being able to position yourself for success so you can take care of yourself, so then you can be in a better place, is all very important. There are people who spend all day, every day helping people on their for mental well-being. Biggest thing is you're not alone. You might need a lot of help from a clinical perspective, or you might need a little nudge in the right direction. Whatever you need, you can speak to your EAP, speak to your doctor, access the resources that you have through your benefits with SelectPath. There's a lot of resources available, and we encourage you to do that. At WellTech, we take a stepped approach to care. So we always want to be able to offer that ability for people to step up if they need additional help, whether it's one-on-one counseling or group counseling, or also have the ability to step back down as well once they're able to access those resources. From a commitment perspective, one thing I want to ask of you today, from you with regards to supporting your mental health is, what kind of mindful activity may you want to do? If you have never tried meditation, give meditation a try. even if it's for 5 minutes, being able to sit there quietly, close your eyes and do some meditation, really focusing on breathing is a big key. When I talk about meditation with a lot of people, the big thing they talk about is the breathing, being able to use the breathing to calm their, their brain, but also their nervous system too. Go for a visit with a friend, family member, call up a colleague, say, hey, let's meet up in person for a coffee. Take some time out for yourself. Maybe it's going for a walk midday, maybe it's going for a walk before work. Being able to set that schedule for yourself to be successful. The power of community. Really social influences, community can help motivate and drive positive health behavior change. One of the most effective strategies to deploy when working on behavior change is to do with a partner or to do it with a group. When you consider physical activity, the popularity of programs like F45, OTF, a big part of their ethos is based around community and a supportive environment. Being able to be there as part of a group is really motivating and engaging for a lot of individuals. Weight Watchers has a platform called WW Connect. This is a digitally based community for members where they can share successes, tips, struggles, leverage the community. I was on a call with another company called Better Health. They're based out of the US. And we're going through their platform, and the founder of that company, I think the most important part, or the thing that he got excited about the most, was the community aspect of it, where people are, and it was very simple, it's like a Facebook page where people are sharing their successes or sharing recipes, whatever it may be. He was able to really, be able to identify that, hey, this is part of our success, is this social support, this community, and this connectivity that we're able to offer people. Communities and social connections, they provide the accountability, they provide the support, and a certain level of camaraderie around shared goals and experiences as well. Within those communities, a lot of people are working towards either the same goal or very similar goals. So being able to have a connection is key. When you're working towards a specific behavior change, whether it's physical activity, mental health, whatever pillar you may want to focus on, look to start. If you're looking to start, consider asking someone to join you. Or if you're currently on your journey, if you're doing physical activity, maybe you want to try group exercise classes. Being part of a larger social community group goes a long way, both from a physical activity perspective, mental health perspective, and also from a support perspective, whether it could be nutrition or sleep related as well. With WellTech, we really focus on supporting, being able to support behavior change, across mental health, sleep, physical activity, and nutrition. Remember that the health pillars of mind, sleep, physical activity, and nutrition, they're all connected at some level. By focusing on one area that is important to you, and again, focusing on that one area that's important to you, it will have a domino effect in other areas as well. We designed the WellTech platform to support and empower you to achieve better health based upon everyday habits. What is great about making improvements is, what's really great about making improvements in one area is that they're heavily influenced by behavior. So even the small changes can begin to have a high impact over time. As I mentioned before, that woman that I worked with as a personal trainer who was overweight, had some depression. Within 9 months, she had made significant strides related to her nutrition, related to her mental health, related to her physical activity. The woman that spoke about at York University, that was a 3-month program. In 3 months, she made significant changes as well with regards to her physical activity, mood, mental health. So again, just starting, getting those changes going is really key, and having the consistency as well. I always tell people progress is often not a linear line. So don't be discouraged. You have a setback, an off day, hit a plateau, be consistent, know your goal, and really off the end of the day, understand the why. Have that value behind what you're doing is always good to reflect upon when you're going through behavior change. And that's everything, guys. Any questions?
I am not seeing any questions in the chat or the Q&A right now. We'll just give a minute and see if anything gets added in. give it a minute. Okay. Not seeing any questions, which means you explained everything very well. I know the question that popped into my mind during this was, wait a minute, what if I get to sleep, but I wake up? And certainly you answered that. I can perhaps go do a puzzle or something, but stop tossing and turning. So if there are no questions, we'll wrap this up for today. So I want to remind everyone that the email will have a copy of this recording, so you can reference back if you want to. The next session will be January the 17th, and it will feature Jennifer Slay. She's the Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at King's University, and she will speak on the impact of inclusiveness on workplace mental wellness. So again, that is January the 17th. And still no questions. So we will officially wrap this up. Andy, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. Much appreciated. And if you have any questions, I know Andy mentioned the technology a couple of times. Feel free to reach out to any of your advisors at SelectPath to learn more about that as well. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Tammy. Really appreciate it. And have a great day, everybody. Have a good one.